Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Manjos, and I'm coming to you from the WatchBox floor in Philadelphia. And we've got a great show going on today. We realize that we have a huge advantage here at WatchBox, that we actually are global, and we have some of the best people in the world globally. So we thought it would be a lot of fun to get our whole team together, somebody from each office, and really discuss the global market in 2020. Now, 2020, when we started doing this market wrap in March 1st, 2020 was looking like a very normal, nice year. And obviously 2020 has spiraled in a lot of different ways, but it's been very interesting for the watch market. And I thought it'd be really fun to get everybody's perspective. We'll have an opportunity to talk about some of our favorite watches, talk about what's going on in each market, because the markets are very different in 2020. But let's get started. I'm going to introduce all of our offices. Coming from the top, actually from the heart of the watch industry, Patrik in Switzerland. Patrik, for anybody who knows him, has probably more experience in the watch business than most humans on the planet, coming from the brand side. He's been in this business even longer than I have, which is hard to do. So it's great to have his perspective from the global side in Switzerland. We've also got Josh over in Hong Kong. Say hey, Josh.
Mike. Yep.
Now, Josh is a local Philadelphia product that we transplanted to Hong Kong and has just taken over that part of the world. It's one of our favorite places to go visit. I can't wait when I can travel again. Hopefully in 2021, I'll be back out there to hang out with you and we'll have a great time again. We've also got in Dubai, our newest partners over there, Christophe, part of the Siddiqui WatchBox team over there. Again, huge experience and a great perspective from a very different part of the world from us. Which is a great thing to have. And then we've got Glenn over in Singapore.
Hi, everyone.
Say hey, Glenn. He's got a much prettier office than I do. I'm very jealous about that, but we'll see what we can do about that. I'll have to come visit. Yes, I still haven't made it to that office again. 2020, we've opened up and I haven't been a chance to get over there. So we're going to talk about a lot of things in the market today, but I think the first thing we're going to talk about, which is always my favorite thing to talk about starting off market wrap, is my favorite watch that we've gotten in each market. So I'm going to let Patrik start over in Switzerland. And Patrik, what have you got there that come across your desk?
Well, I want to talk about something really polarizing. And then yesterday I went into the intake room and I saw a watch coming in, which really fascinated me. The Lange Zeitwerk date. I'm not necessarily a Lange fan. But when I saw that timepiece, I'm sorry for that, Mike, but when I saw that timepiece, an episode came to my mind from 30 years ago. I talked to a shareholder in a company I used to work. We were talking about new designs. And he said to me, look, I need a big date. I have to see the date. I have to see the time. You might have, you're young, you know, you have maybe the eyesight and the power to see, but I have the buying power. And when I saw that Zeitwerk, that was really representing what that shareholder told me. It is not I would say an affordable timepiece, but it really represents what is the most important thing, the easiness to read the time. And that really brought up some memories, and that's why I took that timepiece today.
Everybody knows that I'm a huge Lange junkie. That is an amazing watch. We don't see a lot of them because, again, they didn't produce very many Zeitwerks, especially with the date. So that's a great choice. I love the Lange call out. Christophe, what have you got for us today?
I have something that everybody knows very well. I've got a Rolex Daytona Platinum with the ice blue dial and chocolate bezel. I think for me, at least for me, within the Rolex Daytona, that's the one that stands out, really. It's an iconic product within the whole Daytona range. So it's both very, very sporty and at the same time extremely elegant. And in case you don't go to the gym, it's also a nice tool to exercise because the Platinum is quite heavy.
You can get your workout wearing the watch.
Yeah, but just fell in love with this watch the first time I saw it. But just as a feedback to our friend Patrik, actually I was hesitating between this beautiful Rolex and guess what?
Oh my
Another.
goodness. Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
So
wow.
good choice, Patrik.
Good
Thank you.
choice. Well, it's funny. I mean, talk about changing markets. For years, the Platinum Daytona was probably the slowest selling Daytona. And in the last 18 months, we've seen demand spike for that piece where now they're trading over retail, which is an amazing piece. Again, the rarity, the classic Daytona thing, it's just Rolex has been incredible in 2020. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get onto the markets. All right, Josh, what do you got in Hong Kong for us?
So sorry, Mike. Like Patrik, I think traditionally I'm not the biggest Longue fan. But what I do love, I love perpetual calendars. I love a bit of flash. And last week we got the most incredible Longue in Longue-matic perpetual, 38 millimeters. Not sure if you can see it well there. Super classic piece. I've never seen this watch with a diamond bezel. And when this watch came in my mind, I was like, we have to have this no matter what it costs. So we got it done. And the more I look at this watch, the more I fall in love with it. Really appreciate what Longue does. 38 millimeter micro automatic just works so well, and it's a really, really awesome piece. So it's a first Longue that really made my heart skip a beat. Yeah.
It's an amazing piece because again, Longue has gotten rid of most of their perpetuals at this point. I mean, I'm hoping we'll see a new introduction next year, but yellow gold perpetual with diamonds, I've never seen one. And I know when you showed me that picture, I always had the same reaction. Unfortunately, it was like 5:30 in the morning, but I still got excited.
It was worth it.
Right. It was worth it. All right, Glenn, you're up last. What do you got for us?
To continue on from Christophe talking about rare and hard to find Rolexes, I found a really unusual white gold day date with the very rare lapis lazuli dial with gem set as well. It's a really exciting piece for people who are collecting and just looking for something really unique. Obviously, with stone dials like this, they're always going to be unique.
Well, it's interesting in a lot of ways. I mean, day dates have become very collectible lately. Stone dials, especially. You take a white gold day date, you take a stone dial, and then diamonds, because making stone dials with diamonds was rare because it was so difficult, and the amount of damage and things. So it is a super rare watch. Terrific. All right, so we're going to kind of jump in now to our main topic, and that's really 2020, what we've seen in the market. What we've seen in brands, what we've seen in markets. Obviously, WatchBox in the US is 98% an online business, and 2020, whether we like it or not, turned into an online year because we were so shut down. And obviously, when it first happened, like everybody else, I think we were very nervous, and we were very afraid that business was really going to shut down and we were going to have some issues to deal with. But very quickly, we started to realize that most of our clients were home. Most of our clients were still working in one way or another. And very quickly, most of our clients started getting bored and started turning to their favorite pastime, which was watches. At the same time, the Swiss industry did shut down for quite a bit of time. So deliveries weren't coming in. The retail stores were closed. So then we started seeing shortages. And I don't think in early March, anybody expected the combination of factors to affect the market like they did. And now we're kind of in uncharted territory where 2020 is one of the strongest years for the watch industry from our standpoint that we've seen. And a lot of the companies have started to bounce back. But I think going forward, what we're seeing is this focus with people having more time. For one of the things I always complained about early in the year and last year was like, it seemed like people were only interested in 4 or 5 watches. It was a Rolex, a Patek 5711, and nobody was really branching out. And now I feel like everybody's discovered all these independents and specialty watches that are a little rarer, like Josh's favorite over there, have started to become the thing that people are focusing on. I just wanted to see, in other markets, what are you guys seeing as far as brands? I mean, obviously, WatchBox has been known for Journe, and we've seen the Journe market explode. Patrik, why don't you take us out in Switzerland? What are you guys seeing as far as brands in 2020? That might be a little different.
Well, first of all, what is important to know is that Switzerland, the Swiss market, consists mainly of the tourists. So the domestic Swiss market is extremely traditional, and I would call it conservative. So in the past, the consumers that were relying on a few brands, which we know, And it's only recently that they are also venturing out into, I would call them boutique brands, like a Louis Monet, like an H. Moser, like a De Bethune. These are brands which we didn't have on our list really in WatchBox Europe or Switzerland a year ago. And today we see this, this trend. I also see, I looked at the statistics this morning. When I look at the two big guys, which we know who they are, the percentage of the business we made with them here in Switzerland has gone down, even though our business almost doubled because we are still new here. So there is a trend, I would call it, to the boutique brands. And that's refreshing, you know, for a traditional market.
Yeah, I think it is refreshing because, again, I think all of us love watchmaking. We love watches and we do it every day. So when you start seeing the same watch and the same watch and the same watch over and over again, it does get a little dull. And it's more exciting when we can start to talk about these smaller brands that, you know, have that passion behind them, which I love. Christophe, what have you got for us coming from Dubai? Because obviously a very different perspective.
As you know, WatchBox Middle East is actually just celebrating now 1 year. So we're sorry, we're the youngest among the WatchBox global offices. So for us, the two big guys are still leading the charge, representing most of the business. But we can also see, and I will join Patrik on his comment, I think the whole COVID situation, people had probably more time to spend doing their own research about, you know, watchmaking and what else is out there, you know, except the leading 2 or 3 brands. And I think there has been a good improvement of awareness and desire for these independent brands, the MB&F, the Moser, the FP Journe, Richard Mille, who's still an independent, the strongest among the independent, but he's one of them. So I think here in the Middle East, we can see a little bit more and more engagement around these brands, but definitely the top 3 are still the one leading the charge.
Got it. All right, Josh, what have you got for us in Hong Kong? I know Hong Kong, I've always been amazed with. I mean, I've been going there regularly for a lot of years, and they always seem to be a little bit ahead of us trend-wise. And when I start seeing the market move, it tends to happen over there. So you're on the ground over in Hong Kong. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I think FP Journe, of course, you know, without question, is one of the biggest drivers in the market here. And I think for the company, we were one of the leaders in building that Journe business for WatchBox. From the attention Journe has received in the market, it has given rise to other brands like Moser, as we said, and De Bethune. But actually, we're also seeing a rise in interest in what we call the neo vintage. So 80s, 90s, early 2000s independents like Dubuis, Daniel Roth, older pieces like that are complicated boutique manufacturers, really irreplaceable. And people are starting to see and appreciate the inherent value in watches like that because they do present an exceptional value proposition.
I think that's a great point because I've noticed that very much. I mean, I just bought a Roth World Timer last week, and literally 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not even convinced we would have bought it
Right.
because people would be like, Daniel, who? But I'm seeing more of that. Again, I remember when those watches were new. I'm sure Patrik remembers those days too. And there was a lot of really cool smaller brands that seemed to get swallowed up for a lot of years. And now I'm seeing that come back. The question I had for you, because you guys have been kind of the forefront of Journe, what do you think caused that fire to get lit so quickly? Because again, in markets, it really did take off like a rocket, but it seems to be holding there.
Yeah, I think Hong Kong is very special. I can't speak for Dubai, I haven't been there. But when you're looking at the watch market in particular in Hong Kong and you're on the street walking around, everybody's wearing a nice watch. It could be just a Rolex or a Patek or a Royal Oak. So it gets to the point where those watches, which truly are special and beautiful and, you know, and all that, to become very mundane and very normal. So people want something that, again, is irreplaceable. It's going to differentiate them from their friends, make them a bit more unique and special. I think Journe is probably, you know, a product of good timing. just provided those, qualities with, the gold movements and the low production numbers, the controlled distribution. It's just a recipe for success in a very mature collector's market. And I think just led to the rise. And that's, again, giving rise to other independents as well in Hong Kong. A lot of people are talking about Dufour, Long and Heine, some other brands. I really think this is the future.
I love it. All right, Glenn, what are you seeing in the ground in Singapore for us?
We've got a bit of a similar situation with Jorn really picking up a lot of interest from collectors. So Singapore's always been a big collectors market. I would say we're a little bit less on the sort of flashy side, and people trying to keep their collections a bit more private. They tend to like meeting groups. They sort of have informal members groups and things like that. Jorn, has done very, very well recently. I think just the activity in we've seen in auctions, the fact that more and more press is available about Jorn, and social media has really exploded with him as well. The other brands that we do very, very well here is Audemars Piguet, and that's just with very classic Royal Oaks, because I think a lot because of the size as well. A 36 or 39 mm is a perfect unisex size, and a lot of people here like smaller watches as well. That's why Rolex does very, very well in Singapore. The other thing that we're finding as an interesting trend is people looking for those slightly more personal watches as in personal to them. So things like the neo-vintage watches, people are really now looking for their birth year watches. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I've been chasing a sub for some time, and one just appeared, and I was very pleased to get my 5513. But it's that thing of having something that means, something really to you that, to everyone else it might just be a classic steel sports watch, but it's your year of birth one. So that's something that people are also looking for having a bit more meaning. And I think the other big thing that we saw during COVID was just people doing that sort of, it's now or never, the watches that have been on their radar, whether it's a Daytona, an Aquanaut, they've just said, I'm going to go for it now. I've got the money ready. The watch is available. I'm going to just pull the trigger. So I think the fact that people knew they weren't going to be traveling, they would have a bit more money available. They've just wanted to, take the plunge and get the watch. And that's been a great thing to see as a trader, is meeting these clients once we've opened up a bit more and being able to deliver that watch to them. And, they've been, this is a watch that they know everything about. They've been desperate to get a hold of. And that's been a really nice thing about 2020, is some of these people have really found their dream watch.
I think that's a great point, and I think you brought up two interesting points. One is Audemars, because for a number of years, I always thought about Audemars as this super flashy, offshores and limited editions, and it got so overdone that I kind of lost interest in it. And now you're starting to go back to I love the old Audemars Perpetuals. Star Wheel is one of my almost all-time favorite watches. And again, that was a watch that nobody paid any attention to. And now you start seeing them popping up in auctions, and it's getting much more interesting. I think the other thing that I'm noticing here in the States is we're seeing people this year, our average transaction has gone up dramatically. And I think that might be to your point, where people are sitting home going, I've been waiting, talking about this, doing it for so many years, that maybe this is the year that I treat myself, because we've all gone through so much difficulties and hard times. And you wonder if that's starting to do it, or is it becoming, people are more comfortable with that. We've seen the biggest growth in our business of that $50,000 to $100,000 range, which was always a very important purchase. I mean, we don't want to downplay it. Yeah, watches are expensive, but there was a lot of guys who would spend 10 or 15 grand, but wouldn't go to that 50 or 100 because I'm not that comfortable wearing it. Even if they had the capacity, they were just a little shyer about it. But I found it interesting that at a time when nobody can go out and really share their watches, that they're spending more, investing in what we're seeing. And I don't know if you were seeing that in Switzerland, Patrik, as well, or is that a US thing?
I think it's the same. A friend of mine yesterday sent me a picture of a timepiece he just bought, and he said, I was so depressed, I did a favor to myself. And I think there's also more money. People at the moment, at least here in Switzerland, they have more money right now than they had a year ago, because they didn't spend the money. They didn't go and do their shopping for clothing. They didn't buy a new car probably. So they didn't go on flashy vacations, which is a big deal here in Europe or in Switzerland. So there's more money there. And at some stage you wait, but there is a time where you have to make a favor to yourself. And I think a timepiece and the way we at WatchBox offer it, give the information, the way we deliver, the way we talk to the people when all the retail stores are closed is a huge advantage for us and a huge benefit for the end consumer.
Yeah, we certainly saw a big uptick. I mean, we were doing so much content during the COVID times. I know I was on IG Live all the time. I know a lot of the other guys were doing the same thing. And we got that same kind of engagement where people were hungry for that information and just to have a face together, to have something that was a distraction from what they were doing. How about in Dubai there, Christophe? What are you seeing?
I think here in Dubai, we also had a few good sales in that price bracket, but here having the store closed was a bit of a disadvantage, moving completely online, because we're in a region where this whole e-commerce online trading maturity level is not yet there. People are still not very comfortable buying a product without first seeing it by themselves, trying it on. And obviously in that price segment of 50K to 100K, in this part of the world, it's tough. People are not yet ready to just select online, get it shipped, receive it at home. So that's probably one reason we haven't seen so much of an uptake in that price segment like other markets. But when the store has been open, and since we reopened the store, we definitely had a few good sales in that price segment.
I think the other thing that was interesting when I got to spend some time in Dubai last year was that shopping is such an event there. And I mean, like, the retail shopping in Dubai is probably, I thought Hong Kong was good until I went to Dubai. I mean, the malls, the people, the energy you get going out, and shopping is kind of an event there, and it's not online. And the US has seemed to go such the opposite direction in the last 10 years that, you know, nobody likes to go to malls here anymore because they're just not terribly engaging and they're not great. But you go to that Dubai mall and you're like, oh my God, this place is incredible. And you kind of catch that energy. And I think that's an interesting, very big difference in the markets.
It's part of the way of life here, you know. Shopping is part of your weekly program, or whatever happened. You know, on weekend, anybody will end up at one point to the mall. You know, maybe not with the intention of shopping, but they will end up to the mall because the mall are mini cities within the cities. You know,
yeah, I was going to say it's your town, it's your downtown.
Yeah, yeah. So. And we see it. I mean, as you all know, we moved completely online when the store closed in Dubai because of the lockdown. But since we reopened, we can see the balance is back 45% retail within the store and 55% online. So as soon as the door of the store have reopened, people have started coming back to the store. And this is where the big transaction of 50K to 100K are happening.
Right.
Not yet online. It will come, but not yet.
It'll come. Josh, why don't you talk to Hong Kong a little bit? Because I know you guys were certainly ahead of us as far as locking down goes. And certainly, again, I think more similar to Dubai, you know, a retail shopping experience is what people are comfortable with there.
Yeah, sure. So traditionally in Hong Kong, the biggest drivers of the luxury market were the mainland visitors coming over into the city and spending their money here. So it's tax-free. It's really easy to shop here. When the lockdowns took place, all those mainland visitors were no longer coming. So it gave rise to a lot of the locals to start spending money here as well. So nobody's going on holidays, fancy vacations, doing things like that. So they have all this expendable income to now spend on luxury bags, jewelry, watches, for example. And it seems like every month in Hong Kong, we're selling more and more six-figure pieces now. Whereas in the past, it was like we sell one six-figure piece a month, and it was like, wow, high five, that's really cool. Like we're selling a 5208P for north of 700K, Jordan Sonnery, Rainbow Daytonas. It's not that we're becoming desensitized to it, but it definitely is becoming more, dare I say, normal. So it's a very exciting thing to see. And for those kind of pieces at that level, they are really rare pieces, not easily replaceable. So for that kind of buyer who's considering a watch like that, they may feel or know that if they do not buy this one now, they may not have another chance for, who knows how long to acquire the same piece.
Awesome. All right, Glenn, what's going on in Singapore over there?
I just
Doing
wanted
the
to
same
touch
thing?
on Josh's last point, which is also, you have to buy it now or it's gone. As and it's gone, it's going to go up so much in value. And I think a big change this year as well was people really thinking about investment value of watches and people moving away from, traditional stocks and shares with the markets being so uncertain and thinking actually having something like a Rolex, a tangible investment product that, you're talking about scarcity. None of the boutiques were open for, I think, almost 3 months here in Singapore. So if you could pick one up, you just knew the demand was going crazy. And then with the long-awaited relaunch from Rolex of what was eventually their Submariner range, there was all this build-up and anticipation. I think there were a lot of people sitting at home thinking, right, I do have this extra money. Do I want to put it in Apple or other traditional blue chip stocks, or do I want to actually put it into something that A, I really enjoy, and B, if I need to, I can sell it quite easily. So that was a big change that we saw as well. People really look at investment value, and obviously that's something that WatchBox provides online. We do a lot of, we look at different models and we see how they've been reacting in the market. And I think we saw, especially brands, that have been doing really well in auctions, and whether they be older Keramits, whether it's Journes, with brass movements, people are thinking, you know what, I've got the money now, I'm gonna buy it and treat it as an investment, as well as something that they enjoy and collect. So that was definitely something that I saw as a big difference. Even my wife, who doesn't wear a watch, bought a Rolex. So it's that thing about, she's like, I know it's terrible, isn't it? Never switch off, Mike.
Never switch off.
Because for her, she's like, it's, leaving money sitting in a bank, it doesn't get you very much return. You've got a Rolex, you keep it, you don't have to wear it. Then she's got an unworn Rolex that, one day if she wants to, she can sell.
I love it. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to put everybody on the spot for predictions. We certainly didn't see any of this happening in 2020. So what are we going to see in 2021? What's going to be the hot brand? Where's the market going to be? Are we going to come off these kind of numbers? I'll start with you, Patrik. You're in the middle of Switzerland. Where are we going to be in 2021?
In the hot zone. I think I'm a big believer that COVID, the changes which we have seen with COVID is actually just an acceleration of a trend which would have come anyway. Be it online, be it how retail works, being about more consolidation on the brands. And I think we will see more consolidation on the brands. I think out of the big ones, they will become bigger. And I think out of the boutique ones, it's really, I call them the boutique brands, or you can call them niche brands. They really have a big chance. Although in the big picture, that's a small amount, right? Yes. But they have a chance. And I always believed also in brands that are polarizing. I always believed in independent brands, family-owned brands, where people are behind it, and I think it's their chance. And I think they will grab it.
Awesome. All right, Christophe, what are we seeing in 2021 in Dubai?
Well, I think I agree with Patrik. This crisis is just accelerating a trend that already started. I think for actually most of us, for Josh, for Glenn, for Patrik, and myself, I think 2021, and because of this COVID situation, we had to become much more aware of our local business and adjust to fill the needs of our local business, because we all are market heavily geared toward tourism. I think Hong Kong, like you said, Josh, heavily geared towards mainland Chinese tourists. Singapore is a shopping paradise that was attracting tourists from all over the world, and Dubai the same. So our big adjustment for 2020 and 2021 is think global, but act local, because this is where our market is today. It's a local market in Dubai. It's a local market in Switzerland. Same in Hong Kong and Singapore. From a product or brand trends, I think, the leaders will get stronger, because again, as Glenn said, at the end of the day, it becomes like an investment. So whatever brands is up there that kind of reassure the consumer that the brand will not lose value is a reassuring factor. So I think they will get even more powerful because of that. And then agile, smaller brand that can adapt quickly to a new normal and a new reality have a good game to play because, so I think independent brands that are financially strong enough to go through this crisis might have a good chance to emerge stronger from the 2020 situation. So I could see 2021 as a very two ends kind of market, the big players getting stronger and the smaller having a chance to become stronger.
Yep. Awesome. I love that. All right, Josh, Hong Kong, 2021.
You know, I think Christophe is right on it. You know, from a business perspective, having to think global, but really cater to your local clientele as a focus is going to be something we're going to have to take more seriously as we move forward. In terms of product and, you know, buyer tendencies, as you've already seen, I think we'll continue to see a drop in focus on the big commodity brands and more of a focus on the independents and smaller brands. I'm really, really confident about brands like Meijer, for example. Seeing a lot of people start to ask questions and want to learn more about this brand. Just more generally, also seeing people start to really favor smaller case sizes and forget about larger watches. So that 40 millimeter and below, you know, diameter case profile is becoming really the bulk of what we're dealing in here. The offshores, you know, the 42, 44, 45 Panerais, even things like that. We're getting such little traction here that I don't see them being as relevant, at least for us here in Asia in the future.
So too. All right, Singapore, wrap us up.
I think Patrick's point was really interesting about the people aspect, because I think one thing that we're hopefully going to build more is this kind of community locally of, you know, collectors. And I think now we're getting all a bit more confident using Instagram, you know, posting things. Like it's getting to that point that I think we can really start building that within WatchBox. We can build different collectors communities. I think that'll be really important because it will be local, but you'll have that feeling of being part of something bigger and global. So I think that's going to be something really important. The other thing that I think is interesting, and Josh mentioned it with Meijer, is I think partnerships. So I think, you know, the partnership between Meijer and MB&F quite recently got that watch that they produced just got such an amazing kind of press. And I think that could be something we see a little bit more of, you know, the smaller independents saying, hey, you know, let's work together on a particular watch, whether it be materials, whether it be design. I think that'll be interesting. And I think Patrik mentioned this as well. I think there's going to be, within the small independents, they'll have a chance because I think there'll be amongst watch collectors and buyers, there's definitely going to be the search for the next brand, right? Which is going to be the next investment brand. And I think obviously Journe has shown itself this year to be very successful. And I think out of those, you know, independents, who's the next one? So there might be a lot of speculation with these independents, and it's good for them. The spotlight is kind of on them in a sense for, you know, can they be the next Journe? I think that'll be an interesting trend as well.
No, I think that's a great point. I think, I think we all spoke about tourism. I think is going to be an interesting change in 21 because it will eventually come back, and that'll certainly put it up. But I think we are going to see that market just take off again. I think because of the smaller brands coming in, the big guys are still the big guys. There's a lot of positive energy that's come out of this COVID situation. And I think that comfort of people being online and community and feeling the need for community again, I think is going to be great. And I look forward to I think will be a spectacular 2021. And I love having 5 different perspectives and 5 different places. Obviously, you know, Philadelphia isn't the biggest tourism market, so it's not what we've been driven on. But it's an awesome place, and it's an awesome place to have centralized and to have the inventory we have and the ability to go in all these different directions. I mean, I know you guys all know I'm a Lange junkie. We've gone into that market. We've gone into Journe, but we're also looking for what's new and exciting. And I think that's the fun of this business. Is we're not just doing the same thing every day. We're going to look for the future. We're going to look for that next brand. And I think the other great point you made is collaboration. The Swiss industry for decades, centuries, worked together in a lot of different ways. And the big brands got away from that. And I love seeing these smaller brands come back and figuring out ways to work together to make everybody successful. So I think that would be awesome. Now I realized we made one big mistake at the beginning of this. I forgot to show my watch that came across my desk. So I have not a Longa, because you guys had that covered, but I have what I think is the ultimate Patek, the 5270 in platinum. To me, it's the perfect size. It's the amazing piece. It's a great color, salmon dial, just an incredible piece. And to me, the ultimate watch was always a Patek Philippe Perpetual Chrono. When I thought of looking in the dictionary of a Patek, it was always that 3970 or the 2499, or even the, now the 5970 and 5270s have grown on me so much that I just think it's still an amazing watch. And always love seeing those come through, and always love having the ability to have a number of those come through, which is great fun. All right, guys, I think we actually accomplished it, and this was great. I mean, great to have all the different perspectives, great to have everybody in the WatchBox family, and I think people have come to realize through COVID that we do have amazing traders, knowledge, the depth of knowledge that exists in this company amazes me. I mean, I've been almost 3 years here and 30 something in business. There's no place on earth like this company, and I love that part of it. And it's only because of you guys in your own little worlds giving us all this information that goes forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
very much.
hopefully we'll do this again on a regular basis.
Yeah, let's do
Sounds
it.
good.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. All right.
Great.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye.
So guys,
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.